what inspired you? What inspired you to start pursuing bodybuilding and fitness? So, because you're the FMG Pro Champion 2 times, is that correct?
Yeah, 2 times.
Yeah.
California Pro Champion, and then 5 weeks after, won the Australian Pro title as well.
So what inspired you, bro? What inspired you to pursue bodybuilding?
So going back a number of years, I used to play football, so soccer. I used to play that for a good 11 years, always playing sport when I was a kid, and just got to a point where I didn't love it anymore. I didn't want to keep playing it. I just wasn't really having the best time, but I still wanted to do something active.
Yeah.
So this was me, year 12, kind of falling out of love with it. And one of my mates, he got these free passes to a gym, one of the fitness firsts. So me and 4 mates ended up going to this gym, and, you know, we're kind of just dabbling around there, and we're also just doing some cardio, to be honest, because I just want to keep my fitness up. I wasn't even into weights for the first couple of weeks. And ended up training there and started to get more into the weight section. And then I just kind of kept doing that for another, it would have been at least 6 years, maybe. And I didn't even really think about bodybuilding. I was just like, I'm enjoying myself, lifting weights, my body's looking a bit better, I'm getting a little 6-pack, you know, me, like late teenager, early 20s, yeah. I'm having a good time. And eventually I got to a point where I'm like, I'd actually like to see if this is good. Like, is this good progress? You know, let's compete with other people and see where I actually stand up.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, okay, let's do a competition. I'm going to lock it in. So I've been thinking about that for maybe a year before then. I was like, let's just stop thinking about this. Let's put our foot down, get a coach. And that's what I did. I went, inquired, got a coach. And it's funny how this happened. I was penciled in to do an ICN show.
Yeah.
Actually, that was supposed to be my very first show. And I had this big Europe plan with all the boys. And me not knowing how prep worked, I go to my coach. And I'm like, is this going to impact strap? I've got a 4-week Europe trip to do. We're leaving in a couple of weeks. He's like, during the prep phase. I was like, yeah, I can try to eat healthy. Which like, obviously not conducive to like a bodybuilding goal.
Yeah.
And so long story short, we switched plans pretty quickly. So I never ended up doing the ICN show. Went over to Europe, had a good time, and came back, got another coach, and we had penciled in a WBFF show. So we kind of disregarded the ICN plan, and his show was the WBFF. He really liked that, and he kind of pushed me into that. I didn't know much, so I just said, yeah, whatever you reckon, let's do that. And so that's when that all started. We got into prep. I really took it seriously, much more serious than I was initially, which I think was a blessing in disguise, because I wasn't ready for a show then.
Yeah.
To the fact that I thought that I could go to Europe for 4 weeks, you know, obviously wasn't in the right mind space, but
yeah.
We started prepping for WBFF, and it was a few weeks out, and my coach said, hey, there's an IFBB show. It's 2 weeks before your show. I think this could be a good opportunity for you. Maybe you can get on stage, get a bit of stage presence, and then once you get that, go to our planned WBFF show, and we'll be in a better position. I said, yeah, sure. Okay, let's do it. Whatever you reckon, go. I don't know too much here. And so we ended up doing the IFBB show, and not really expecting all too much. And we did a men's physique class.
Oh.
And that's how that happened. It wasn't even planned to do the IFBB show.
So initially, were you going to consider doing bodybuilding? You kind of just fell into physique?
Well, I had gone to a show previously. I had seen a WBFF show, and I had seen all the classes. At the time, we had fitness and we had muscle. And muscle guys are so much bigger than me, bro. Like, I had not really thought about doing bodybuilding. I just kind of wanted to get in there, and obviously fitness was the only one I was going to do. Muscle guys were far bigger than I was. Even fitness, when I was in the crowd, I'm like, those guys are pretty big. Be on there. I'm having all these doubts, right? Because they're looking shredded. They look, better than I currently am. So that was kind of my goal, is just get in there and just, see what's up.
Yeah.
Right. And then after then we'll start moving forward and seeing what categories we want to do.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing the IFBB show, ended up winning that class.
Wow.
Won our men's physique first timers class.
That's awesome.
Which was surprising because we weren't initially going to do that show. And so I'm running a high off that. And I'm even thinking, do we even do the WBFF? Right. Obviously I'm doing okay in this federation. They like me. Maybe I should just pursue IFBB. So we ended up pushing through. We did the WBFF. Came fifth in my first show, which I was so glad.
That's really good, man, for your first show.
Yeah, I was honestly so happy.
Wow.
Because how WBFF worked, they would crown the top 3.
Yep.
And then they wouldn't, you're in the top 10 because you're in the first fallout of the 10 guys. But it's a few days later where they release it on Instagram, what the actual order of the top 10 are. And I saw 5th, and I thought it'd be like 7th or 8th or something. And bro, I was over the moon. I'm like, fifth place. And I remember being way more excited for that than in the first place of IFBB.
Yeah.
And after that, I knew that was the federation for me.
And what was how many people competed in your category?
So the WBSF?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big show, that one. At least 14 or possibly 15. Because there was a first call out and there was a second call out as well. So there was 10 and there was a group of guys in the second one.
Yeah.
So maybe like a half lineup, so maybe 15.
Yeah. Because WBFF doesn't exist anymore. It
actually does, but not in Australia.
Not in Australia.
So how it always worked is it's an American company and we were the Australian branch of that.
Right.
We had our own promoters over here, but we would follow the guidelines and the show presentation of the US.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, some things happened overseas with their show, their world show, and we had then cut ties with them. Our promoters for that federation over here, they started a whole new federation called FMG.
Yes.
Very similar concept, but they have made some very beneficial changes to the federation, which has positively impacted us as competitors. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah. Walk me through the FMG competition, man, because we were chatting about this before we shot. It's different. Like, it's a different federation. Because I had Kyle on the podcast and he was saying the same thing, that they're very friendly. The camaraderie's there. All the competitors that are up on stage with you, they're very helpful. Everyone's just very, very nice and friendly, bro. It's just a different experience. But how did you find competing in FMG, bro?
Well, that's the thing, because I had just come from the IFBB and now I'm doing less people backstage, and the ones that were backstage were the other pros.
Yeah.
So the pros would come backstage, they're helping us out. They're helping all the amateurs. They don't know me. They're helping me out. They're kind of geeing us all up. Whereas in the other federations, there's coaches backstage, there's, all your friends and anyone that paid for a backstage pass. So you feel a little isolated there. At least that's how I felt. I'm not sure how other people feel, but with the FMG, there's just so much, I suppose, like sportsmanship backstage, even guys that you're directly going up against.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is just best mates. All of us guys, we did the physique class and we walked off, all grabbing a photo together, all posing together. And it's just so fun. And I think it's because we are forced to just be there just as competitors. So, at the end of the day, we all have the same dreams and the same aspirations. We're all competitive pro bodybuilders, right? There's not too many of us walking around, right? You don't see too many of them on the street, in the gym, So we have more in common than almost anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's impossible, in my opinion, not to get along with these people.
Yeah. And did you do anything differently this time competing? So in your previous shows, was there any structure or training or dietary recommendation that you changed, or did you just do it the same how you always do it?
Yeah, how we usually do it, it's more the opposite that we changed, in all honesty. The prep phase, to be honest, with them shows I usually come in quite lean, like I'm known for being lean on stage.
Yeah.
So we try to replicate how that prep goes almost every time. We try to push it a little bit. This time we actually introduced cardio a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
We had to do that. Actually, we were forced to do that because we did a last minute LA show 5 weeks out. And when we planned that, we realized it was about 8 weeks out. Oh, we've got to start cardio now.
Yes.
Usually I start cardio maybe like 4 weeks out. And we're just doing steps and it's all the nutrition that gets us where we need to. So we had to start that 8 weeks out. So I think that kind of impacted how lean we got this time. Because this time on stage was by far my leanest on stage. So I would say that contributed to it. But you also learn just a few little tips and tricks just about nutrition and just, just all these little things that you can really fine tune. But more the off season was the biggest turning point.
Yeah.
Because size now is an issue because I have pushed up into the new physique class. I've always been a fitness model and I was always a pretty good size to fitness. I was never undersized there. So it was never a big push in the off season. Like, we've got to put this size on.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like 2 years ago, I did my first physique class, but that was a last minute decision. I was doing fitness and I ended up doing physique. We decided that in prep.
Yeah.
We realized, okay, we're holding a little bit of muscle, let's do physique. And that's when I realized when I was on stage, I need to put some size on if I'm going to do this class.
Yeah.
Right. Because the guy that ended up winning had some good shape to him. So this past off season, we just tried to replicate what prep was.
Yeah.
Try to be as disciplined, as strict, as adherent to a meal plan and meal prepping as we possibly could.
Yeah. And you look phenomenal, man.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you look good, bro. Like I've seen photos and you came in grainy and dry. You had the striations, man. The physique was looking good, bro. Like with cutting carbs or the carb loading, you know, how does your body respond? You know, do you find that you would do 3 days leading up to the comp, you would carb load? And who was doing your prep anyways?
So my coach is Tim McKinnon from One Percenters. So last year was actually our very first year jumping on. We started at the start of the year, right when the bulk started. So the bulking phase was with Tim, and then this is our very first preparation phase.
Yes.
Which turned out to be absolutely fantastic. Very happy with the result with Tim. Tim knows his stuff, you know, and I learned pretty quickly to trust everything that he says. Anything that he gave me, even if I didn't understand why, he would explain it and I would have full confidence that that's the way forward. So, you'll have to remind me, what did you ask?
So did you did you coach? So did you
with the come towards the peak week phase of that?
Yeah.
So we always do a mock peak week. So 2 weeks before. So our goal is to be in condition 2 or 3 weeks out.
Yes.
Like we want to be ready to step on stage weeks before we do, just so we have that second week to actually trial a few protocols out.
Yeah.
So what we will do, we'll usually do a very high carb day, a moderate carb day, and then a low carb day. And this is the first time we actually introduced a high fat day.
Interesting.
I've never had that done.
Yeah.
Just to load up fats quite a while out. But what we would do, we would run all of these days and then monitor what my body looked like in the coming days.
Yeah.
And whatever day we looked the absolute sharpest and fullest, we would then take that day and how many days that we had this first high carb day and then replicate that into our peak week.
Yeah.
So we might have had a high carb day and then 4 days later, we looked the absolute best. So then from Saturday show day, 4 days prior, we would have that high carb day, knowing that that's what my body liked and that's how it responded.
Yeah.
So the trialing phase is super important because everyone responds different.
That's true.
Someone might have a moderate carb day and then the next day look the best, you know, but it all depends. We actually ended up having multiple high carb days.
Wow.
We had 3 very high carb days.
How many carbs a day were you having?
It was up there, like 600-700.
Oh,
but in prep, that is like more than what I'm normally having. So it was a treat. It was a fantastic peak week.
Yeah.
But what happened is that we had that first high carb day. The next day we realized we can chill out. So he replicated again. Again, this is photos first thing in the morning, body weight. He sees absolutely everything and he sees the result of the prior day, makes the assessment on the day.
Yeah.
But nothing's mapped out. He doesn't message me at the start of the week and tell me this is the plan. We're going day by day here. And towards the end, we're going almost meal by meal. So every 3 hours, photos, body weight. I'm sending this to him multiple times a day.
Interesting.
It's a little bit tedious, but yields the best result.
So he could tell from the transformation in your body, like where you're at. Like, did you go do a DEXA scan or were you going to?
I have told myself for the last few shows, I'm getting a DEXA scan this time.
Yeah.
But you just get so caught up in prep and everything's going on and you're going down to the Gold Coast, getting an apartment and just everything's happening and it just slips me every year. I would have loved to get one 2 years ago to compare to last year, but I just haven't got one.
Yeah.
He can visually see.
Yeah.
And he can also tell with the body weight as well.
Yes.
So he has a trained eye, and I feel like that's very important if you have a bodybuilding coach.
Yeah.
Someone that can visibly see that. And this isn't in person, by the way. This is photos from my phone to him.
Yeah.
And he was spot on because anytime he said, oh, we need another day of carbs, he was right because the day after that, I didn't spill over. And that's what we're looking for as well. When you have a high carb day, you have a chance to fill your glycogen stores up, but also to push that too far, then that turns into subcutaneous water. And you don't want that because then it starts blurring the lines and you start losing the shreds that you have.
Yeah.
So he's looking for that as well as the fullness. So our goal is to minimize the water and then maximize the fullness.
Yeah.
It's a very tricky line.
It's such a science, bro. Like it really is. And with respect to bodybuilders, man, like, cause my whole family, has grown up in martial arts and bodybuilding. Like
Sure.
all my uncles are bodybuilders. I've stepped up on stage. My brother stepped up on stage. My granddad was an Olympian, competed in the 52 games for weightlifting.
Fantastic.
And yeah, bro, like I just have such respect for bodybuilders, man, and what they do. Like I remember chatting to Kyle when he was on the podcast. He was saying it was like up at 2 a.m. he's meal prepping. You know,
Crazy well.
it's a full-on lifestyle, man. It really is, and it's a science. It's strategic.
Yeah.
What about your mood, bro? Because some people, when they get very low calorie, their mood tends to change a little bit. How did you feel cognitively?
Yeah, good question, man. Now, I don't usually feel too many mood swings throughout the prep, though towards the end, and I think this is just from the lower amount of carbs, you're just starving your brain a little bit. You do have a lower tolerance of patience. That is definitely something that comes up. It's not an anger thing. It's not a like frustration thing. Like you're not like pissed off, but like little things will just kind of tick you off and just kind of, I wish that didn't happen. You know what I mean? Or like someone will say something, just like, I wish you didn't say that. It's just for being in this starvation period just for so long. I've never been one to take it out on other people. It's more of like an internal like annoyance that you start building up, and you do catch yourself every now and then.
Yeah.
Because usually I'm like pretty easygoing guy. Nothing really bothers me or gets under my skin. So when I notice something that does, I'm like, oh, okay, we're at that point.
Yes.
And after a few preps, you can start to notice like around the 3-week out mark, I'm getting like that. And I noticed that as well when I was doing my PT sessions as well. And I felt terrible for my clients, but I wasn't like giving full energy, which like I'm a very energetic trainer. Like I'm really like celebrating their lifts and I'm really like jumping to put more weights on. Whereas I'm more like lethargic because your body's just in power saving mode.
That's right.
So that's more so what that was.
Yeah. And that can be a hard thing to juggle too, bro, because you're incredibly busy, man. You're an industrious person. You have a lot of clients back to back. And when you're in a cut phase, your mood can sort of change a little bit. And that can be hard to sort of grapple with. Like, how do you mitigate that? How do you try and balance when you're cutting and giving your all to your training?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 years ago, I did my first pro show. I was primarily a PT in-gym trainer. I had a few online clients, but I quickly realized that once I get close to the show, it's just not manageable, where I had to get to the point where I just told some guys, I was like, we need to push these sessions back 3 weeks. Once I'm done with this show, we can get back into the gym.
Yeah.
So I would try it, and I would like just barely get through these sessions. I might have 5 or 6 sessions. And then towards the last 2, I was just dead, like, could barely stand up, but I'm just like sitting on whatever bench is close. And I'm like, I should be right there. And it was more the guilt of, they're paying me for these sessions. Doesn't matter what I'm doing with my personal life. If I'm tired, I shouldn't reflect that on them. And I couldn't help it. So that's when I ended up just trying to move their sessions to after the show. And then I quickly realized this is a little bit better once I had that minimized schedule. And then I started really pushing the online coaching. So I had a lot more online clients last year, but a smaller PT roster, and I still do now.
Yeah.
And I quite like that schedule. So how it works, when I'm in prep later this year, it will still work because I know it's a good amount of clients that I can still get through in the morning without burning out or giving them low energy.
Yes.
So a bit of trial and error there,
100%. So what about cheat meals, bro? Did you coach let you have cheat meals?
So this is in prep?
Yeah.
No chance.
No cheat meals.
No chance, man. No chance. If you are really serious about bodybuilding, you can't leave it to chance.
Yes.
If he gives me one cheat meal, who's to say if I'm going to get an extra large pizza or if I'm just going to have some fries? Like both are cheat meals and both are at my discretion. And, both will have dramatically different results. We're after as close to perfection as we can. What we'll do is we'll have a refeed day. Only if I need it though. If I'm just hungry and I asked for more food, he's not going to give me a refeed. It's when my mood starts going down, when my training starts going down as well, when all my biomarkers, which I record daily for him, start to diminish, then he'll give me a refeed. Might be for a day or 2, but it's enough to refuel my body, get my training on track, get my mood good, get my energy and my outlook good. And then, to me in prep, that's a cheat meal.
Yeah.
Just some extra rice, another banana, some apricots.
Yeah.
Like more food than what I'm having feels like a cheat meal when you're in the depths for so long.
Yeah. And because too, man, like you were saying as well, you would have high carb days. Essentially, that's a bit of a cheat as well, because I'm not too sure about you, bro, but I'm a savory person. I love sweets too, but man, I fucking crave carbs.
Yeah.
Like, that must have been okay for you.
It was fine. Honestly, just being more food, more carbs than what I was having previous, that just feels like Christmas.
Yeah.
If you can, because I was having these little cups of rice, little pre-cooked cups.
Yeah.
Just in every day. I would have 2 of them.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing ever. It sounds so bland and so basic to anybody else, but to me, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't really crave like a big burger. If you told me I can have a cheat meal, I wouldn't even have one of them. Like, I just don't really have the appetite for it. I just don't.
Yeah.
And especially, I know my body wouldn't react well to it, especially being so, on point for the rest of the prep. But just a little bit of extra carbs, that's all you need. And you feel fantastic afterwards. Like, it actually feels like a shot of revitalizing energy. It doesn't sound like much today, high carbs, but when you're that low, just that spike does big things.
It does. So with bodybuilding, bro, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learnt about training? So I kind of relate bodybuilding a little bit like martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
It prepares you for life. So when you're under a heavy bar, bro, you're thinking, fuck, how am I going to get this fucking weight up?
Yeah.
It's the same pressure with life. You look at it as an obstacle. You look at how you can overcome that. And it very much teaches you resiliency, hardship, overcoming setbacks and obstacles. And, you would have had injuries, illness. But what are some of the biggest takeaways that you've learned through bodybuilding?
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. It does set you up for life. Even outside of the gym, just all the meticulous little things you have to do, like prepping your meals, weighing everything you eat, going to sleep at the right time, making sure you get all your water. All these little things that you don't want to do is very similar to life. You've got all these like bills to pay and all these like little things that you don't want to do, but you have to do if you kind of want to get by in life. It teaches you just do the hard things because it's going to be worth it at the end. But with the training, it definitely reinforces the fact that you have to train like a bodybuilder. A lot of people will go in there, they'll sling a lot of weight, they'll push some heavy dumbbells, but their form won't be right. The tempo won't be right. So when you start to do bodybuilding shows, you realize I'm trying to build as much muscle as possible. That's not conducive to what I'm trying to do. So you really start dialing your training in even further. You realize it's not enough just to go to the gym and just to try your best. You've really got to have a game plan of how you attack these sets and how you attack these reps.
Yeah.
So really looking at it even closer with your training is amplified much more when you do a bodybuilding show.
Yeah. And do you teach your clients this stuff too?
100%, man. Absolutely. Because they all have similar goals to me. Pretty much all of my clients, they're all physique based. And that's what I promote with my coaching as well. I promote that I will get you in the best physical shape. I'm not a CrossFit coach. I'm not a strength and endurance coach. I am the coach to go to if you want to change your physique. And it's the same principles as me with bodybuilding. I just do it on a more extreme, unrealistic level almost. But the principles are the same. Training with tempo, coming down with a 2-second eccentric, holding the squeeze, not worrying about the weights. That's one of the big things that I really push. Just don't worry about the weight. Your mind does not know what number is on the side of that dumbbell. It just knows how much work you're putting that muscle under. Yeah. And you could put it under a tremendous amount more work with a lighter weight if you're lifting it correctly. And that's definitely something I push onto my clients.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think some of the biggest training mistakes
here we go.
you see when it comes to muscle growth?
Yeah, very, very interesting question. A lot of that would have to go with momentum. More often than not, the form that I correct is minimizing momentum. Say, like, for example, if you're doing a basic tricep extension, a standing tricep extension with a cable, if you have your elbows raised up and then you drive them down as you're pushing, you're garnering some momentum there. You want to lock the elbow in as you extend, so it's all tricep. And pretty much with every other exercise as well, just minimizing momentum. Range of motion as well is one of the massive ones as well, which almost every client I do have to fix up to an extent, because your body can stretch out a lot more than what you think.
Yeah.
Especially for back. Like if you're doing a row, you want to extend way further than what you think and then drive it back as far as you can.
Yeah.
You see people kind of shortening both ends there.
Yeah.
And you're just limiting how many muscle fibers really activated in that lift.
Yeah.
So the momentum, just positioning as well, just getting your body in the right position as well. Would be the best ones.
Have you seen that knees over toes guy. Have you seen?
I've heard of him. I've clicked on his channel, but I haven't indulged in his content much.
Yeah, so he was on Joe Rogan, and his training methodologies, a lot of the stuff that I knew back in the days when I was a PT. And I think the biggest conflicting advice that you hear day in, day out, like for years, bro, people would say butter is bad for you. You know, butter used to be demonized. But we know fair share of research that butter that's grass-fed organic is extremely healthy. It's a fat soluble. It's good for hormone production, testosterone. It's got vitamins A, D, E, and K.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of nutrients in butter. And plus, it's fucking delicious.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
easy sell.
Yeah, but the knees over toes guy, he's interesting, man, because he talks about a full range of motion. And if you think about the squat, right? If you look at a baby squat, they have perfect form. Their back's nice and straight. They go arse to grass where their hamstrings comes in contact to their calves.
Yep.
And some people, there was a myth, you know, for years, like I remember arguing with a physiotherapist, you shouldn't get your clients squatting below parallel, never get your client's knee traveling over the toe. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, your knee goes over your fucking toe all the time when you walk, when you go down a flight of stairs.
Yep.
You know, your movement, like if you look at an Olympian, like an Olympic weightlifter, when they do a clean and jerk, it's a snatch position and then to a clean. They go to a full squat.
Yep.
They front squat up into the clean position, and then it's a press.
Sure.
It's a full range of motion. But what do you think of some of the advice that people give within the fitness industry?
There's just so many proven things already. Like there's a lot of theories out there and there's a lot of people giving their takes, but there's a lot of scientific research out there.
Yeah.
So I would advise people to look into some of this research, or at least find some content creators that have content based on research, because full range of motion is fully proven to fully maximize muscle growth. Like there's no benefit to shortening the range of motion unless you have some sort of injury or some sort of discomfort that prevents you.
Yeah.
Then I'll sort of look at a way to maybe, you know, fix that issue and then maximize the range of motion. But to a healthy individual, you know, you want to stretch that muscle out as much as you can, shorten that muscle as much as you can. And there's no reason you would train any other way, in my opinion.
Yeah. What's your approach to periodization if you're prepping someone up the stage? Like, do you have a muscle building phase and then into more of a fat loss phase? Because I think the key for fat loss is to put on muscle. Because, you know, for every pound of muscle you put on your body, you'll burn an extra 50 calories at rest. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Bigger frame, it's like a car, bro. You know,
your metabolism raises as you have muscle mass. Now, to someone that wants to lose body fat, you know, sometimes the best course of action is to grow muscle first instead of focusing on the fat loss. So if they're eating almost no food, you don't want to like drop that even lower to get rid of the fat. You want to raise that up higher so they build on some solid muscle mass. That's always my first go-to. Now, your question about periodization, is that nutrition-based or workout-based?
Yeah. So workout-based. And then, let's start with workout-based. How do you periodize it, right?
You know, honestly, there's not so much variation in terms of goals. If we are trying to build muscle or burn body fat, training should stay relatively the same. You really shouldn't adjust your training all too much. Because when you think about it, if you have a training program for muscle building, you've built all this muscle, you don't want to then change the training program when you're cutting because you've got to maintain that muscle.
That's
and how do you do that? You keep doing what you were doing before, right? You don't want to do less than what you were doing before. You don't want to dramatically drop the weights down because your muscle was built with that high amount of weight. So more so the difference that we have in the two phases is nutrition based.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there is this big mess when you're growing muscle, you want to go low reps, right? You want to go as heavy as you can, do 4 to 6. When you're cutting, you want to do 15 to 20. You want to go higher in the reps. Absolute mess. It's all exercise dependent, right? You probably wouldn't do a squat for 20 reps, but you could definitely do lateral raises for 20 reps. And I would do both those in both phases.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say the rep range is goal and phase specific.
No.
It's more exercise specific, which would then cross over in both phases.
So with training, bro, like, I mean, there's so many different training methodologies. And what's fascinating too, Lucas, is if you look at sprinters, right, they have the best fucking hamstrings on the planet.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen sprinters' hamstrings, bro? They are shredded, they cut, they're defined.
Sure.
And it's interesting, like learning from the research, if you look at the hamstring, it's predominantly fast twitch. So it responds very well to low reps, heavy weight. But then if you look at the quads, right, if you look at track cyclists in the Olympic Games, like,
Oh, yes, I've seen their quads.
have you seen the
German cycle.
fucking quads, man?
Absolutely.
They are like impressive quads, bro.
Bodybuilder spec quad.
Yeah. And I can remember, like, do you remember Tom Platz?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Greatest legs in history.
100%. Like, I remember Tom Platz, there was a video of him. He was doing like 500 and something pounds. That works out to be about 250 kilos. He was doing like 25 reps.
He had a different methodology to everybody else. He was just crazy high reps. I think the only downside about that is a lot of leg movements are very form specific, like squats, for example.
Yeah.
It works for him, so I can't knock it, but that's an exercise where you have to have picture perfect form,
You do.
right? Your knees, ankles have to be in place. Your back especially has to be straight.
Yeah.
After a while, you start accruing some fatigue.
You
Once
do.
you're at rep 20, I'm sure, you don't really
That's going to catch
you're
you.
just going to curl over a little bit. You're going to jerk a little bit. I think to take that risk out, I wouldn't really advise going up.
Yeah, 100%, man. You definitely make a good, valid point because, like, there are exercises where you can do even reps up to 50.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever tried doing a heavy ass set on a leg press but for 50 reps? Like, have you ever done that?
Really? No, it's my thing is, you can do a weight up to 50.
Yeah.
But would that be better than doubling the weight and doing it for 20?
20.
It's like,
Yeah.
find that balance there.
Yeah. Yeah, because what's interesting too, bro, like, is the repetition range. Like, it's as you said, bro, it's a bit of a myth. You can get muscle growth from, I think, as low as 3 or 4 reps all the way up till like 25, 30 reps. But staying in within a repetition range, which is predominantly hypertrophy, which is, I think they usually say between the 8 to 15 mark, roughly.
Yep.
But yeah, different exercises can also change with repetition and rest periods and tempo and stuff like that. Like, if you look at something like shoulders, right? Like shoulders, I find too, like when I used to prep up clients, I used to do a lot of giant sets for their shoulders.
Sure.
So because you just want to blitz them, they tend to sort of work well with a kind of a burn, get that burning feeling in the muscle. But sometimes too, like even after, like I've had a client do heavy ass squats for say 4 to 6, and then we move into the 8 to 10 rep range. And then towards the end of the workout, I'll get them doing like a 2-minute leg press, and so you're hitting the muscle from all different repetition ranges.
Sure.
Yeah, but what have you found that works for you, bro? Like have you done a bit of the reading, like on what Arnie used to do back in the days, or even some of the bodybuilders like Frank Zane? Like, what works for you?
Yeah, I know there's definitely a lot of variations out there, and I'm not going to knock any of them because there are some guys that have tremendous physiques who vouch for them. And it's like, well, he wouldn't have built that physique if that training method didn't work.
Yeah.
So there's a variety of different ways out there. What I've found, it's more of a boring way, but it's just a more traditional, doing 2 or 3 sets of a certain rep range. I won't vary the rep range. I won't really do, every now and then I'll do drop sets, but it's not a staple of my workout. I like to just maximize that set that I'm in and then freshen up as much as I can for the next set. I suppose things like drop sets, supersets, they're good, but you also have to take into consideration, what's the quality of the rest of your workout going to look like?
Yeah.
Do you want to do this crazy drop sets in the middle at the start, and then everything past that, you're not bringing the same energy, you're not pushing as much as what you could have without that? I think towards the end, if you do a drop set, that can really burn the muscle out. But what I've found a lot of growth with over the past 2 years is just training 2 to 3 sets, 6 to 20 reps.
Yep.
And then just choosing the rep range and doing 3 sets of that rep range.
Yeah.
But just trying to maximize every single set.
Yeah.
That's what I've found. There are definitely other ways out there, but I don't feel like you need all this flashy stuff.
No.
You don't need, the new training method.
Yes.
Keep it simple. Like when you think how muscle has grown, it's by progressively overloading the muscle, doing more than what you did last week. Obviously, this, but it's either, getting one more rep or putting the weight up a little bit. And you can absolutely do that with a very standard program.
Yeah. And what's interesting too, bro, like when COVID happened, right, it was interesting because, all the gyms were closed. So you had to kind of just make do. You had to do some different things at home and do some home gym workouts. And I can remember some workouts doing it at home, like where because I had a TRX and I was using a TRX, but even just like super slow training, you know, like even just paying more attention to the tempo, like maybe like a 5-0-5-0 tempo. So a 5 second pulling yourself up, then a 5 second eccentric.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to be able to do fucking 20 reps, but you'll get a substantial amount of work in, and then you might superset. So you do 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out for 4 to 6, and then just bang them out however many you go. So on like a modified drop set.
I hear that.
And I mean, you can get some phenomenal workouts. You don't have to go to the gym. What do you think are some of the biggest excuses you've heard people say that they don't have time to work out?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of people overestimate how long a workout's going to take.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll get in and out 45 minutes with my client. They're spent. You know, you don't need any more than that. You can if you want, but you can destroy your body in that time.
Yep.
So I think it's more so people just overestimating the time to go to the gym. If you don't mess around, you don't talk to your mates, you don't spend half an hour in the bathroom, if you just get in there, get to work, you're out before the hour's up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as for excuses, I don't know, I'd have to think about that. Have you had any crazy ones?
Oh, 100%. Like I've heard more excuses than a pregnant nun. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I hear them all the time, bro. Like I don't have time to train and I'm busy. And I'm like, mate, there's 24 hours in a day, right?
Yeah. If you actually sat down with them and just told them, map out your entire 24 hours, like exactly what you do, like minute by minute almost, you'll find 45 minutes to kind of accumulate together.
Yeah.
But, you know, a big one is like, what are you doing at nighttime? Like, are you watching 2 episodes of your favorite TV show?
Yep.
You know, maybe get rid of one of those.
Yep.
Maybe go to the gym instead. You know, maybe you're playing video games for an hour. You can probably get rid of that. Everyone has the time. You know, I work with some like really busy guys. Charlie and Dan, these 2 English blokes in their 40s, right? They run one of Australia's biggest flooring companies. They've got a family. They've got multiple kids. They are as busy as you can imagine a guy being. They train up 4 days a week.
Wow.
And they have for the past 2 years.
That's incredible.
They rarely miss a session. I don't think both of them have missed a session. One of them might not come for whatever reason. The other might not, but they're always there. A session always happens 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And after seeing that, I'm like, everyone has time.
100%. 100%.
If these guys have time, you have time.
That's it, bro. Like my cousin Dane McDonald, who owns Clean Health, he gets up at about 4 a.m. before the kids get up, and he's got 7 kids.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like he's got 7 kids. So he gets up, he does his ice bath, he does his meditation. They're non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And I think it's not a selfish thing too, bro. Like if you have kids, you've got people that you love and care for, you need to put yourself first, because once it's like that whole analogy of the plane thing, like when the oxygen masks fall down, you put your own mask on before you help other people. You know what I mean? Because like
I like that. I really like that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Because like it's setting your day up, bro. Like, and you have so much more to give people once you're okay. And I think too, bro, like 1, it's fucking good for you. And 2, it's a routine. Like if you can't get to the gym in the Arvo, get up at fucking 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, get there at 5, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard a quote from Arnold. He's like, if you're too busy sleeping to go to the gym, just sleep faster.
Yes. yeah.
It's found it hilarious. Sleep faster, get up and get to it.
Yeah.
You think like what for me is going to be presented to my wife and kids if I do this routine, if I take care of myself. You'll be a better husband, you'll be a better parent, you'll be a better overall individual if you put a bit of time into yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%, man, 100%. And I think like we know the research backs it up that weight training or any sort of exercise is an antidepressant.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. 80% of it has a success rate, even more so than taking SSRIs. You know, I was chatting to a friend of mine last week on the podcast. We were talking about this, and she's a yoga instructor. And, you know, she has all sorts of people come in, from elderly people, 80s, 90s, you know what I mean? There's no fucking excuse. If a 90-year-old's coming in to do a hot yoga class, you can drag yourself through a workout.
That's right.
You walk to the fucking fridge, you can drag yourself through a workout.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's also like a lot of people that, you know, you obviously sit on your phone, you're kind of just doing stuff on the couch. If you had a treadmill at home, you could be on the treadmill scrolling through your phone.
Yeah.
When I'm in the chat, this has been a funny story. I got so sick. I didn't have anything left to do on my phone. Like, I'm doing so much cardio and treadmill work. And I'm just like, I'm so sick of my phone. I've just been looking at it all this time, watching all these videos. I would get my Nintendo Switch and I would bring it to the gym.
Yeah.
And I would go for like 45 minutes. I'm losing track of time.
Yeah.
I'm just playing my Zelda game on the treadmill, and time just flies by.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting on the couch playing your Switch or watching something, you can always do that while you're going for a walk outside or walk on the treadmill.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, bro. You can even, like, if you say you're busy, you can work and exercise at the same time. Like I've had days, bro, where I've done planks, you know, just as a finisher. And I'm not in the plank position. I'm just on my phone.
Playing your Switch off.
Yeah. You know, creating some content or or even stretching. Like if I'm watching a movie, like I put on Bloodsport the other day, bro. Have you seen Bloodsport, Van Damme?
I haven't, no.
Oh, dude, you have to fucking watch it, bro. That's going to be your homework, bro. You have to sit down and watch Bloodsport.
So what is this? It's a movie?
It's a movie, bro.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. You have to watch Bloodsport.
It's a fighting movie.
It's a fighting movie, but it's a classic. It came out in the early 80s.
Oh, okay, old school.
Yeah, dude, you'll love it. You'll love it. If you're into, you know, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and all those action dudes, you'll love Bloodsport. But, I was watching Bloodsport the other day. I was just having a bit of a stretch while I was watching it, you know. So yeah, you can just cross train a little bit. Like
sometimes, because you lose track of time. You forget that you're doing this thing that you otherwise would not be a fan of.
Yeah,
like on the treadmill. Like I don't want to be there for 45, but I want to play my Switch for 45.
Yeah,
so that's make it enjoyable at the time.
Yeah. What about nutrition? So backing track to what we were talking about with your FMG show.
Yep.
What about reverse dieting? So coming out of
absolutely.
This is fascinating because a lot of people, they sort of fall off the wagon a little bit. So once their comp's finished, then what might happen is they might binge eat and they overeat, and because you kind of want to strategically introduce calories back into your diet. So how did you go about that, bro?
It's a crazy process that your body undergoes because it goes back to the caveman days, right? They wouldn't eat every single day. They might have a big meal and then go days and days without food until they find the next kill. Yep. So they would put their body through this starvation process. And our bodies are still wired like that, right? So we're still doing that. We're doing a competition prep, which is gradual starvation. So once we get to the end, and then if we were to indulge all this food, our body's like, oh, we just finished the starvation period. What if that happens again? We should store as much of this food as future food for when the starvation period possibly comes. So that's why you end up putting a lot of body fat on, because then your body will then use that to fuel itself later. So that's kind of why you see these big rebounds after bodybuilding shows.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very, very important, because your body's at a very volatile state where it's at the highest rate that it will introduce body fat.
Yeah.
So, and it can be a bit hard because at the end of a prep, you're starving, you're sick of this dieting. All you want to do is just forget all of this and just go back to all these foods that you haven't had for 20, 30 weeks. So the best bet there is to almost imagine that prep doesn't finish when the show is on. Like everything is finished roughly 4 weeks after the show. And you have to know that before the show finishes. Otherwise you are going to treat it like a finish line that you cross and then I'm free to do whatever I want. Which is not the case, because then we end up with an unfavorable body. You might end up being very unhappy with that. You might be ashamed of it because you worked so hard to get this amazing physique and bring these lines out. You don't want to regress in a matter of weeks. So reverse dieting is extremely important. And you want to treat that like you've treated the prep. It's exactly what it is. It's reverse. We gradually go down and reduce intake on the way to the show. Once the show's finished, you can have a cheat meal afterwards. Go out to dinner, have a little bit of bullshit. But after that, slowly introduce food. And this isn't over a couple of days. You might make a slight caloric increase 1 week.
Yep.
Assess how everything's going, make sure the body fat is under control, and then maybe make another push up. And this could take a number of weeks. It all depends on how quick your body fills back up and what your conditioning is like.
Yeah.
But definitely important to stay with your coach after the show. Don't distance yourself from the coach and just think that you're free.
Yeah.
The coach, it's an extremely important part right after the show.
Yeah, 100%. But bro, you're in a happy, healthy relationship, bro. You're with your partner. But as I mentioned before, for the last year and a half, bro, I've been secretly writing a book about this mating crisis. Right now, bro, we are in the highest rate of sexlessness ever amongst young people. 1 in 3 men between the ages of 18 and 30 hasn't had sex in the last year. You also have 50% of men saying that they're not looking for a relationship. Women also are very much in a position where they want a relationship, but they're finding it difficult to find eligible partners. Right. In the US, bro, there are 2 women for every 1 man completing a 4-year US college degree. Women on average between the ages of 21 and 29 in the UK earn 1,111 pounds more than their male counterparts.
Yeah, sure.
About 78% of women say that a stable job is something that they want in a partner. You have a world now that's very much digital. So we're very much not so much in your face, kind of, like it's more online. People are meeting on dating apps.
Absolutely. The amount of relationships that are dating apps, or even just Instagram DMs. How many people just bump into another person and try a pickup line anymore?
Yeah, but I think what I think too, bro, is we've forgotten how to connect.
Yeah, it gets lost in this digital shuffle that we're all in.
Yeah. What advice would you give to men out there that are just having a really difficult time in trying to attract their partner? What would you say to them?
Well, you kind of have to zoom out and kind of realize, okay, what do I find attractive in a woman? Why do I find that attractive? But then also flip that around. What do women find attractive? Almost like put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
Like what would they find attractive? And then would I kind of fit into that? Like, am I exuding attractive qualities? Like, am I exuding masculine features? And if not, I would definitely try to work on those. Because it's one thing to kind of, hope for the best. And I hope, my dream girl kind of rocks up one day. But you've got to present yourself so that when that dream girl does rock up, you're in a good position to be found attractive by that woman.
Yeah.
So if you kind of have a hard look at yourself, kind of write the pros and the cons of yourself, and try to cross off as many of those cons as you can, and try to beef up those pros. Maybe you're going for walks every day, and that's great. Maybe try to lift some weights. Maybe try to work on your image, and that goes in a lot of directions. Self-confidence goes up. You'll be more open to having these conversations because you are a confident man. Plus, physically, you are more attractive as well. So I would just really take a look at yourself instead of looking at the other sex and wondering what's going on.
Yeah. And I think too, man, and, we were talking about this before, is men have now fallen drastically behind. So women are doing exceptionally well, bro. They're doing extremely well, especially in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Women are starting to become more educated, more employed, make more money, which is amazing.
I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it? Really?
It's great. Right. But you can start to see right now, if you have a world where now women are starting to outperform men, and if their attraction is that 78% of them want a man with a stable job, what's happening right now is as women climb up through their own hierarchy and competence, they further shorten down the pool of eligible men. You have a large cohort of women all chasing after the top 20% of men. You have a large portion of men at the bottom, which are just completely invisible, that don't get any attention from women whatsoever. Dating apps bear this out. The stats on Tinder bear this out. Women swipe right 4%, while men swipe right 60%. So the guys that obviously have the pick of the litter, the super high value guys, have a plethora of options. They can just run through these women and date multiple women all at once. And what you start to see is more casual dating. What happens is the women that get used by these guys end up resenting all men and just say, fuck this, I'm just going to lean into boss bitch culture. And, then you have men going their own way, either fleeing to countries overseas to find women because they're struggling in their own country. So no one's fucking happy.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. You can't bash the women.
No,
they've got standards, right?
Yeah.
Some of them aren't even that high. Like you said, they just want a stable job. I mean, that's not a crazy standard to have.
No.
So, you can't even bash them for, wanting a man that kind of satisfies their needs in terms of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
Respectable enough as a person. I would definitely see that as an important trait.
Yeah.
A stable job, having respect for yourself. I feel like dressing well as well. This is a big thing that I see with guys as well. Like, guys just don't put the effort in.
Yes.
You know, I just see this is just from the outside as well. They could be the most lovely, intelligent person, but just from the outside. And, you know, a lot of the time, you know, the first impressions do matter. If you're trying to attract a female, you do want that first impression to matter. You just see how they dress.
Yeah.
Or if they're not shaving their beard, right? Or if they're not cutting their hair, right? If they have this scraggly haircut and they got a big neck beard going down and, you know, shirt is all tattered. You know, these are like easy changes. So whenever I see that, I immediately think you're not even trying. So if that is the case where that person can't attract a partner, I mean, there's only one outcome there.
Yes.
It's just they don't see you as valuable enough to be that because you don't see yourself valuable enough to be that for a high value woman.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got to raise yourself up, you know, instead of just wondering what's going on, you know.
And there's a phenomenon called hypergamy. So women are generally hypergamous. They will select partners that are as competent or more competent than they are. So generally, if you look at what women want in a partner, a stable job, so they're looking for the ability for the person to garner resources in the future, protection and provisioning. Are they going to be a good dad? Are they going to be a good, you know, father to my kids?
Yep.
And also kindness, being kind. But if you have a world where women are outperforming men, and if it's true that women are hypergamous, I think that it starts with men. If we want to get men and women back together in creating a healthy family, it starts with men. And this stat was really interesting too, bro. I wrote this down. The average man between the age of 18 to 30 in the US spent 2,000 hours per year playing video games stoned on and on prescription drugs, and also porn. You have a lot of 2,000 hours watching video games and also watching porn.
When you actually kind of look at that number of 2,000 hours and break down what you can do in 2,000 hours, well, you can achieve some crazy things.
100%.
3,000 hours, man. You could be a whole different man if you put those 2,000 hours elsewhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a fucking stupid stat.
It is.
That is such a dumb stat.
It really is.
It's sad, eh?
Yeah.
I think you're right. I'll play video games as well, but, you know, in moderation.
Yeah.
I don't spend the entire day playing it.
Yeah.
I feel so guilty, bro, because I used to play it. I used to play COD all fucking day. And then you get to 5 p.m., you realize I haven't eaten anything today.
Yeah.
Like, I stink. I haven't achieved anything. I didn't go to the gym. And, like, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you start compounding those days, then, you know, you just end up becoming this man that you're not proud of. And I'm sure they're sure of it as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't feel like I'm a worthy man.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like they're in this cycle now of just going through this routine, waking up, playing video games, not having a goal to pursue as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that is powerful. Like, we are goal-driven creatures.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And if we don't have a goal that we're going after, we feel empty, we feel lost. And it's hard to have the motivation then, especially if you're in this hole now that you've dug yourself from just doing this, you know, disruptive behavior for so long. It's hard to then just garner this motivation to go after this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I think guys kind of get a little bit stuck in that regard. What do you think?
I 100% agree with you, man. I speak to a lot of dudes. To be honest, men are fucking lonely. They really are, bro. That stat that I read, the number of friends a man would report having back in the 90s is about 6. Now that number is 0. So
yeah, right.
We have a world right now where there's an epidemic of loneliness, not just in men, but also women as well. And I think too, I think men are to blame in the sense that we're rewarding the behavior. So I think men obviously subscribing to OnlyFans and, you know, subscribing to, you know, sex work, that's not really helping as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think not all women, but some women I think do have delusional high standards. Like that song that you might have heard on TikTok, I'm looking for a man in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes. Like if you look at the average salary, I think in Australia, or if not the US, I think the average salary is about $30,000.
Sure.
So it's not that much. And I think money is only, it's essential, okay, but it's not everything.
Sure,
I think we need to stop looking extrinsically and looking for materialistic things in a partner, and look at what's going on inside. And this is the problem with dating apps, right? Because you can't portray charisma, generosity, kindness, being able to articulate your words.
You can't make them laugh as you would in person.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
Which is massive. It's huge. That's that connection. Yeah. And essentially, that's what they'll be getting every single day if they're your partner. Yeah. That real world connection. Yeah. Like you said, you don't get that on those days.
Yeah. And also, too, man, 86% of women say that they want the man to make the first move. And a different study suggested that 50% of men are afraid of making a move on a woman for being seen as creepy. Because women still want men to make the first move, but yet they're afraid of their safety. Men are scared to make a move on a woman because they don't want to be accused of sexual assault or being another Johnny Depp Amber Heard case.
Yeah, I hear that. I think the rejection aspect,
and the rejection,
especially if they've experienced that a number of times before, I'm sure they're really hesitant about experiencing that.
And because there's obviously been some horror stories of women being sexually assaulted. It's terrible, but it's only a small cohort of men. Dr. David Buss, who's regarded as one of the best evolutionary psychologists, in his book, Men Behaving Badly, it's one man doing 1,000 bad things, not 1,000 men doing one bad thing to women. So it's a small cohort of men that repeatedly misbehave and do it over and over again. And that's like your Jeffrey Epstein and your Harvey Weinstein. And I think with the Me Too movement, right, the Me Too movement was a revolution. It needed to happen because it needed to sanitize toxic and bad behavior in men. But what's happened now is it's completely sanitized it. It's just destroyed the way that men and women interact. You know, and men also are worried about being blasted on social media because some women as well will accuse men of looking at them and, oh, look at this guy, he looked at me on, you know.
Well, did you ever see that trend that was going on TikTok where girls would film guys in the background and they would call them out for being a gym creep? But then it was so like unjustified because the guy is like generally looking in her direction for like a second and then looks back. And it's just, they're kind of reaching for this stuff. I think a lot of guys are afraid to kind of be put in that pool, even if they're like unintentionally like placed in that pool. And that got out of hand. That got really out of hand. These are guys that like probably don't even follow this girl, probably don't even know that they're uploaded on the internet. They're just in the background of a video and they've been called out and blasted and called a creep.
And you know what too, bro? Like in the early days of courtship, what women used to do is they used to actually drop a handkerchief if they wanted the guy to come over and talk to them. And what would happen? The guy would come down, pick it up and hand the handkerchief to the woman to invite him to start a conversation. So, but right now, bro, like, and women, and because I have some female friends and they ask me, you know, what can I do? I've got this guy that I really like and I want to kind of, you know, get to know him a little bit more. And I'm like, you need to be a little bit more open. Like, guys are a little bit dumb in that sense. Like, you treat them like golden retriever vibes. You know what I mean? Like, like if you just glance at the guy and then look away, it's not really code for, oh shit, should I come and talk to you? Should I not?
You go the other way. It's like, oh, she didn't continue looking at me.
That's right. So I think if women sort of do want men to approach, I think you need to be a little bit more, not subtle, but what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more open, maybe just your body language and how you present yourself. Because it's really difficult. And as you mentioned too, bro, like, rejection it's a huge part of what guys don't approach women. Especially if they haven't had much success with women in the past. It's a terrible feeling, rejection. You experienced it and you don't want to repeat that, you know, more often than you have to. So I think it is as well up to the female to kind of like introduce the idea to the guy, just so, you know, the fear of rejection's a lot less because now you have these positive signs and he feels a little bit more comfortable about approaching a girl. Where to we go from here, bro? I think we're sort of aware of what's going on. If you look at dating apps, Bumble, Hinge, and Tinder, their stock prices have just plummeted.
Is that right?
People are getting off the apps, bro. They're fed up with them. I think also because there's more of a ratio from men to women on dating apps.
Oh, you think the females are parting ways and the guys part ways as well?
I think so. Both parties are parting ways as well.
Sure. What are they doing instead?
But they're trying to meet up in person, you know, so friends with friends and social groups. Here's an interesting one too, bro. In the 1980s, you know, Bill Gates,
of course.
Bill Gates asked his ex-wife out, Melinda Gates. He calls her up at work. So he thinks she's really attractive. He calls her up at work and he says, "Oh, Melinda, it's Bill. I'm wondering if you wanted to go on a date with me 3 weeks tomorrow." And then she says, "Oh, Bill, I don't think you're too spontaneous enough for me." He hangs up. He calls back half an hour later and says, "You've got the rest of the day off. Let's go on a date now." Right? But if you think about that in 2025, now with HR up people's asses, you can't date people at work, because that's how people used to meet, bro. Like, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now because my parents met at work.
Yeah, you know, get on it.
I wouldn't have been born because my parents met at work. So we kind of nerf down everything. Like, we're just wrapping it more and more and more cotton wool. And if we want successful relationships, we need to start thinking about what we can do to try and get men and women to connect. Because I think there's that disconnection, bro.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard method to push forward, right? Because how many different places do you go within the week? You'll go to work, you'll go to the gym. If you can't date co-workers, you know, you've got the gym. You know, most people, you know, at least my friend group, we don't go to bars and we don't go to clubs. Like, that's not really an option for us. And especially if you go to the gym, I feel like that's not really a common place for a lot of other gym goers to go. So it's like, well, where else do you really meet them? I mean, there's Instagram, right? I know a lot of people kind of go down that route. You know, they'll follow a girl, kind of like each other. I feel like that's kind of like the subtle hints.
Yeah.
Like a couple photos and think, oh, she might be a little bit interested in me.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that's kind of like the new dating app almost. The old Instagram.
The new dating app.
I think so.
Yeah.
Life's on there. You can get a really good gauge of how that person is, you know. So I feel like that's kind of the main method forward. And then from there, people would try to meet up in person. Or even just talking to people at the gym. I mean, that's not a bad idea. You know, like, it's a common interest. I feel like that's like a valid place to spark a conversation up. Maybe don't just like go up to a random girl and have a chat, but, you know, if you start, you know, kind of looking at each other, or you're working around each other and you kind of like sense a good vibe, you can just have a little chat. You don't have to say hello and don't have to ask on a date, but, you know, ask if she needs a spot, or just start a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that's all that needs to happen. You don't need to jump straight to a date. Just start a conversation, become a nice person in her life. And then, you know, if it's meant to be, it just progresses. It just starts with just that conversation instead of this big leap forward that I think a lot of guys think they need.
What's really sad too, bro, there was a study. It was projected by Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley projected that 45% of women between the ages of 25 and 44 will be single and childless by the year 2030. We right now have a declining birth rate. We're not producing enough kids.
Okay.
So Korea right now has the lowest birth rate in the world. They're below replacement. They don't even think they'll be able to, you know, breed. You know, like, we're dying. Like, we're living longer, but we're getting to a situation like where I saw the other day, they're overselling adult diapers to baby diapers. Like, isn't that weird, bro? Like,
that is very weird. Is that a statistic?
Yeah. Yeah. Because we're living longer, there's more people in aged care homes. You know, there's more people living longer, more people in aged care.
Okay, yeah, right.
But we're not producing enough kids, bro.
Wow, I never saw that.
Yeah. And I think too, man, I have a good friend of mine. He was talking to me about a very high performance entrepreneur, female entrepreneur. She's now going to sperm banks to look for a donor. She's going to use her vast resources to support this child. But Nate, make no mistake, bro, that's a single parent home. The stats bear this out, that if you have single parent homes, more in particular boys, if you look at all the mass shootings that happen in America, all those kids that shoot up the schools come from single parent homes. They're more likely to be involved in crime, homicide. They're more likely to use drugs. They're more likely to have mental health conditions as well. So we're seeing more and more broken homes, delayed family formation, not producing enough kids. But I think, as you said, bro, it starts with men. We need to raise men up so that men can become more compatible, but also eligible mates.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, biologically, females want masculine men as we want feminine females.
Yeah.
Right. It's just biologically, that's what we desire and that's what we feel that we need as a male or a female.
Yeah.
So if you're not exuding these masculine traits, it's like you need to start exuding them if you really hope to get others' attention. Because a female wants someone that she can have a family with, that can support them, can be a physical force as well. That definitely helps. Being in good physical shape, being strong in case there was a home invader or someone's threatening the family. She has this strong presence there. It's a very attractive trait.
Yeah.
So as you said, it definitely starts with men. So I would really just look in the mirror and see, what can I do to be a more masculine man? And then from there, I feel like the problem just definitely heads in a better direction.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. Like I always say, if you have kids, get them into combat sports, get them into martial arts, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or just get them into rugby, get them into something too, because it teaches them just real world application, because it teaches you how to fail, how to get back up.
Yeah.
But it's also, putting some thick skin on you as well,
absolutely.
and if we want eligible men, we have to raise them strong, bro. What's the saying, bro? Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
There you go.
Yeah, bro. So where can people find you, bro? You're on the socials, you're on Instagram.
We're on the socials. Instagram is at home. We're at Coach Lucas on Instagram. So if anything coaching related, or you just want to keep up with my life, that's where everything's kept.
Yeah.
I'm also a PT at the World Gym Underwood. So if you ever in need of a little bit of physical help, jump on in, we'll get a session.
Yeah. Awesome, bro. And you got another comp this year too?
Yeah, let's run through that. So last year we had a fantastic year, becoming California and Australian champion. We want to back that up with the world title this year.
Ooh.
So with FMG, we had a debut year last year, and now we're debuting the world titles this year. We didn't have that last year, so this is the first world championship we have. So all eyes are set on that. It's really cool because Sam, my partner, she's actually a 2-time FMG Pro champion. She won 2 last year herself.
That's amazing. Yeah, she's looking good, bro.
She's looking great, man. Yeah. He's coming into Worlds as well. So we're both doing a dual prep leading into that show.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting because it's in the Gold Coast.
That's awesome.
And every year following, it will be in a different location. So next year, for example, will be in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the first, probably the only time to go for a world championship 30 minutes down the road. How good.
Yeah.
But between you and me and whoever's watching this, we are looking for a second show beforehand.
Wow.
So with FMG, there's 14 shows this year. So we have a number to choose from. We want to choose one that's a good amount of time away from Worlds that we can still do it during this prep. We don't have to be prepping all year.
Yeah.
So do this show, hopefully become another champion in another country, kind of like rack up a few different titles as well, but more so just get us primed for the world titles. Review what we've done on stage, see if we need to make any fine tuning.
Yeah.
And for Tim as well, my coach, he can see if the method that we did there was what he wanted. If not, then we can tweak that up a little bit.
Yeah.
You also get the judges' feedback as well, which helps immensely.
Yeah.
But all in all, the major one is the world titles.
Yeah.
September down the Gold Coast.
Phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting, bro. I'm actually interested to see how you go, bro, because you look phenomenal last show.
I appreciate it.
And, you're looking bigger than ever, bro. Like your legs are coming up really well, and, your delts, everything's sort of building up nicely. So it's going to be exciting to see the outcome.
Yeah, very keen. If you can make it, man, it'd be an absolute treat.
Was it the Gold Coast?
It's the Gold Coast, yeah. I believe it's the Start Casino. It always is.
Yeah.
I don't believe they've moved it. So it should be down at Broad Beach.
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. And would there be a possibility, because I know they have different categories. I don't know if they have a category in FMG, but couples can compete together?
I'm not so
Would
that be a dream?
Like, have you seen that? You know how couples can actually pose together, and it's like a couples competition. Like
as this exists right now.
Yeah.
I've seen this.
Yeah. I forget which federation.
Okay.
Yeah, but couples compete against other couples.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Definitely do that. If that was introduced, Sam and I know she would do it as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely jump up there.
100%, bro.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe in the future, we'll see.
Yeah. Lucas, cheers, bro.
Awesome. James, thanks for having me on, mate.
Awesome, man.